Just keep treading water, 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 just keep treading water. Just keep treading water, 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 just keep treading water. Some of my faulty core beliefs that I am unwanted, a burden, that I am loved out of obligation, not desire, that anything and everything that I actually revel in and want to share with people is an irritating imposition. That's a big one. My son's father told me once that I inflict myself on people. That my suffering is something that's actually desired by others. Something entertaining. These are things that were literally embedded in my identity before I was 4, or by the time I was 4 or 5 years old. I definitely felt like an unwanted burden, that my needs were nothing but an irritation, that my suffering was an irritation to those who should have been protecting me, and entertainment to those who were torturing me, literally. So yeah, I struggle a lot with taking care of myself. In times when I should have been defended, it was swept under the carpet. And to this day, I really struggle to find anybody who will stand up for me. They'll tell me to stand up for myself, and then they'll give me shit for doing it. But nobody will actually stand with me or up for me. It is easier for people in my life to break my heart than it is for them to irritate somebody else. That's who I am. That's my identity. I'm the sad story y'all get to look down on. I'm the wasted life y'all get to just waste more and kick the crap out of. And it's been that way since my earliest days. The last time I really felt like I meant my joy was okay, I think I was about 2.5. I have this memory of being really happy and feeling very free and not being shut down. I have one memory of it where people around me actually seemed to at least allow me to be. And I was about 2.5, somewhere between 2.5 and 3. It was under the age of 4. I was very young. I did not have a lot of language at the time. I remember that. But that's the last time I remember feeling like it was okay to be me. That was somewhere between 46 and 48 years ago. Anyway, this is just something else you can all shake your heads at. Thanks for listening. Just keep treading water, 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 just keep treading water. Serious trigger warning. It wasn't until after being, actually, funny, it wasn't until the last time I was medicated that, it wasn't until I was given an antipsychotic that my suicidal ideation progressed to cutting. Somehow, since that Seroquel, that half a Seroquel, something I never thought I would actually want to do has become something my body physically seems to to crave. I get this sensation that I literally want to open my veins up and let the blood flow from my body. That never happened before I had a Seroquel. Prior to that, it was jumping off bridges, which is something I would never actually do. And that was within 6 months of taking a time-release formulation of Paxil. Prior to that, I just had this overwhelming despair, that made me want to die. The really scary thing about the Paxil was there was no despair. It was just this sudden, absolutely vivid visualization of me going to find a bridge to jump off of. Which is ridiculous, because I'm afraid of heights. I don't like being on bridges very much. I've gotten better with it as I've gotten older. But the notion of me actually jumping off of a bridge or a building or out a window is incredibly unlikely. But the visualization of it, the experience of that manifesting is so vivid and so real. And it didn't happen until I had been on Paxil. It was a new control release formula. I was on it for 6 months. And this started happening, just happening out of nowhere. I felt fine. We haven't helped ourselves at all. Not one bit. So today I struggle with this sensation. It's an overwhelming physical feeling. My wrists literally want that sensation, or what I imagine that relief would feel like, of the life just draining out of my body. It's what I experience. Sitting here with the sun shining in the clear sky outside as I craft videos and play on a guitar that is not going to be mine for very much longer. Doing some recording. Trying to embrace the beauty of this life. The little that I can still access of it. While I'm still here. Thank you for listening. Just keep treading water, 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 just keep treading water. A little more heavy for you all today. You want to know what the sexual revolution produced? As a child of the 70s, I can tell you a lot of stories. I knew a guy in high school who used to brag that he lost his virginity at 4 years old to a 5-year-old, or with a 5-year-old. For him, it was bragging rights. 4 years old, I had sex. For her, I wonder. Knew another man who's quote-unquote, we'll say baby mama. I don't exactly know what to call her, except for a predator. First exclaimed that she was going to fuck him someday when he was 11. She started doing it when he was about 14. And when he was 20, she got pregnant. She wasn't sure who was. Asked him for a blood test. Never got back to him. 16 years later, he met his son. What did the sexual revolution produce? An environment that is just ripe for sexual predators. And an environment where children are being damaged. Yay for our self-indulgent gratification. Think about what we're doing to children. Thank you for listening. Just keep treading water, 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 just keep treading water. It's a beautiful morning. Looks like it was a lovely sunrise. I'm sitting here listening to the birds beneath my window, contemplating why I'm just sitting here, listening to the birds beneath my window. I talk about my struggles because it's part of the way that I win my battles, I guess. And I share them with people because as much as I feel completely alone and like nobody gets it at all, I know there are lots of other people out there like me, and that proportion of people is growing. And it's so funny. I was diagnosed with borderline personality. I believe it was in early 1994. And there wasn't a whole lot on it, but it was something that was, I think, just being developed in terms of therapies. And it was really fun when I found out that a colloquialism for my disorder was moody bitch disorder. It's really not untrue. I have to be honest. I'm a very sensitive person. I feel things incredibly deeply. Everything, good and bad. The range of our emotions is incredible, and I am a person with, apparently they've been trying to label borderline personality disorder as emotional regulation disorder. What people, I get, we get big. Big is big. It's hard to deal with. It's hard to deal with inside me. And there's value in it, in the way that we experience the world. I can't speak for everybody who's been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Incidentally, later in life, CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Jeez, all these abbreviations. I just blah, 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 blah. It's enough to make you. I got to tell you, the mental health industry is enough to make you bonkers. Just hospital in my city. I'm not gonna say it straight out. I'm sure people can figure out the campus of this hospital. I found mind-boggling. It was literally enough to make you need to have a room. I'm mobility challenged, and walking through this campus now, it's been renovated, but for many years, in my first years being around this hospital, there was a sidewalk. You're trying to get into the building, and of course they've got like all these fences. They don't want it to be easy to get in and out of a mental health hospital for obvious reasons, necessarily. So walking along the sidewalk, and you see this sign, this wheelchair accessible sign, and it's right beside a very steep staircase. No joke, I have photographs of this that I am gonna, no joke. and we're talking about the campus of a mental health facility. You're walking along a sidewalk, and here's the wheelchair access sign, and it's right beside a steep staircase, and there is no ramp or wheelchair access or anything anywhere near the sign. It's mind-boggling to me. I don't understand. I hope they've changed it. I haven't been by recently. I'm going to be down that way next month, so we'll see. I guess I needed to de-escalate there, and that's part of the process, and it's what we do, right? In borderlines, we switch really quick. Like, I can be furious, ready to punch somebody in the face. And we can de-escalate ourselves really fast when we catch ourselves. It's very disorienting for people, I get it. But this problem has become such a problem in our society because of the rejection of the emotional experience. Instead of learning how to deal with it when we have the bad feelings, our society just decided we were going to shove all the bad feelings in a box. And now we have a society that literally has borderline personality disorder. It's just so emotionally dysregulated. And so for somebody like me who actually struggles naturally, I was born a sensory perceiver. I feel everything, literally, physically, or I shut down and I feel completely empty. And that's one of the things we struggle with. There's no dimmer switch, right? You're either on or off, it seems. It's very difficult to find a way to dim. And when you're in a world that is increasingly just extreme, it is almost impossible to not medicate. And yet, growing evidence over the years has been that medicating us is the worst thing to do. We self-medicate. I'm learning how to do that, how to find ways to function in this world without being an alcoholic, because as much as I was a disaster as an alcoholic, I was able to function in society because it at least made me it was the only thing that made me not care. One of the reasons why we get so emotional is we actually care. And then we get tripped up. Because I gotta tell you, when the emotions come, it's like a herd of rhinos. And when I first said that, it's like a herd of rhinos particularly, I didn't really think about why. And just now, as I said it, it's like, why did I pick rhinos? Because rhinos are big, laborious, like they're not going to run around you. I don't think, anyway, in my mind. And they have that big horn. That's just going to pierce right into you. And that's what it's like. And so, yeah, I will wholeheartedly admit to people that I get incredibly violent urges. There is a beast inside of me, I guess. And I can consciously, in my head and in my heart and in my soul, be fighting myself, going, no, wait a second, asshole, you're not going to. That arm is not going in the air. But it's literally, it's no joke. I literally have to exert energy to not act out violently sometimes. And it's not because of my desire to do it. It's I've got this conflict inside me that is, I'm trying to mediate. And it's really difficult for people outside who don't have an understanding of what's going on, who refuse to have an understanding of what's going on. And I can be sitting there saying, I'm sorry, I have to walk away now. And they're just mad because I'm walking away. It's like, no, really, you want me to walk away right now. And like, I get it. I completely get why it's tough for people. And I just wish they could understand how tough it is for me. Because they're fighting me, and I'm fighting me. And I'm trying to tell them that, like, they need to stop fighting me because they're just, like, giving the fight that's going on inside me reason, you know, and it's distracting me from that. It's very difficult when you get in that situation with somebody that you really like. I had a interaction the other day with somebody who was doing me a favor, and I was getting my cigarettes. I'll be honest. I'm an addict. I have things. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get rid of that one. It's very complicated. Again, as I tangented, I've also been diagnosed as having complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is, there's so much overlap in all of these things, and it makes a lot of sense. But borderline always resonated with me, and I never, it's been the first 7 years not paying any attention to it. And then I started looking into it, and it's like, this really makes sense. And so I started trying to seek treatment, and instead of treatment for my disorder, I would get addictions treatment. Which, you know, helpful in ways. I haven't had a drink for 16 years, which is amazing, and I'm quite certain that if I ever do that again, that will be the end of me. So, we're not going to go there. There are some things that just should be prohibited, and not necessarily for everybody, but for certain people. And the problem is we need to choose it, right? Is where spirituality comes in, and the fact that we lost spirituality in the 20th century in the name of, and I'm going to say this straight out, sexuality, and this is something that really did affect my life. When I was diagnosed, I experienced a lot of different forms of abuse in my early years. Sexual was one of them. It's a very complicated story. And I was always very aware of everything. It's not like some people, you know, who have early childhood memories come back and smack them in the face 30 years later. For me, I was always aware. I have a painfully long, vivid memory. And this affects you. And so I became hypersexualized. And I over-identified with myself sexually because it was the only thing that anybody ever seemed to value in me. That's not necessarily true, but my first 6 to 12 years, there was a lot of negative energy around me, and the only time that there was positive reinforcement at all was when I was being a participant in game. Oh, yeah, anyway, we don't need to know all the details. Let's just say I was trained very well, and I took great pride in what I was able to do. And my therapist in my early days said, you know, not only is it kind of amazing that you like sex at all, but the fact that you enjoy it so much. And so I took that as and we also rationalized my drinking because I was rationalizing my drinking by the time I was 16. It's like, I know I have all of this shit, and I just need to be able to shut it down. And alcohol worked. Alcohol made me feel like a human being. I could socialize with people and somehow not talk about all of this shit. And I lost my train of thought again. It's a process. Life is a process. and sharing it is the point. I do believe there is value in me sharing these things. Yes, the over-sexualization. There we go. I took great pride in the fact that I was trained really well. And I was able to do things. But I could never really have a relationship. There was always something wrong with me. And you fall into patterns that reaffirm core beliefs. Regarding my comments on de-escalating really quick, we don't necessarily de-escalate really quick. What we do is we flip the energy. We will go from ready to punch somebody in the face, angry, to laughing hysterically about something in an effort to flip the energy, to take that force and make it something positive. Or the flip side of that is I have moments where I'm really feeling good, and that is something that to me is rarer and rarer, like really feeling positive and moving forward and with esteem and confidence. And something will happen and it destroys it. It's just like nothingness. And that's hard to recover from. And it's hard to recover from when it happens with everything that seems to be happening in your day. A lot of what it becomes anger management issues is really frustration. It's just constant frustration because we receive things in a sensory way. I believe that people who are diagnosed with borderline personality disorder are sensory perceivers, not intellectual perceivers, the way this world dictates we all have to be. This linear, compartmentalized, over-intellectualized existence that has denied us the opportunity to become familiar with our emotional experience and know how to be comfortable with it, rather than saying, okay, these are awkward emotions. A lot of the things that we find uncomfortable are awkward. They're not necessarily sources of discomfort. Our inability to allow ourselves to adjust to them is what the source of that discomfort is. The vilification of the emotional experience, along with the vilification of the spiritual experience in the latter half of the 20th century, I believe, is the thing that's creating the increase in this disorder. Because as we have tried to become less sensitive, we've actually created a more sensitive environment. Rather than learning how to walk with a limp, we just keep trying to walk straight and you just injure yourself more. My whole life seems to be like a microcosm of what we've done to our society sometimes. And I don't know what to do about it. I really, honestly, my psychiatrist said to me, people with borderline personality disorder, most of the time they don't really think anything's wrong with them. And I realize that there's something wrong with me. There's definitely a lot of damage in this human being right here. And a lot of things come out the wrong way, and my intentions get colored by other people's perceptions rather than actually listening to what I'm trying to express. Because emotional expression, although, is great for entertainment, is not something that human beings are apparently allowed. And that's, I think, the point that I was at when I started. I had a writing teacher in high school who liked how I would always come back around to the beginning. I'm starting to be able to do that again. Very literally spending time with the 2-year-old, 2 to 3-year-old that had a lust for life and wanted to share and was very creative. That in between the ages of 2 and 4 got shut down. And I ask for patience from people as I walk this 2-year-old through her tumultuous life and help her and me be able to be comfortable with the life that I've lived to this point and the life that we will live into the future. Rolling the dice with the genealogy in my family, I've got somewhere in the ballpark of 25 to 40 years of this left. Got to do something with it. And so I sit here and look out the window at the beautiful morning and listen to the birds and wonder why I'm just sitting here, looking at the window, listening to the birds and not getting up and going and enjoying the gift this life really is. And it is. It's just gotten very, very difficult to find the joy in it anymore. I want to find a balance, at least, of bouncing back and forth between the highs and the lows and in this sea of big waves that I reside in. Because there's been a lot of lows, a lot of troughs, I gotta say. There's quite an undertow. I love the sound of those birds. That is a gift that keeps me going in this world that's so disconnected. I wonder why I struggle so hard with these things, with all of the awareness that I've had and all of the knowledge that I have and all of the observation and perception and wisdoms that I know are in here. Why I still can't seem to get it together. Because I absorb what's going on around me, and it's really hard to fight. It's hard to fight. So, if anybody else out there that's listening to this is struggling like I am, know you're not alone. And know that we're resilient. We are resilient. We can struggle through this. We all can. And maybe I just need to hear that right now because I'm sitting here alone staring out my window listening to the birds. And wishing that I could just sit in a field and listen to them instead. There. My job now is to try and turn my life into what it should have been. What I want it to be. There's another rub. In my roughly 30 years of awareness of my illness, the world has only become less and less a healthy place for somebody like me. And trying to figure out how you fit into a world like that is increasingly going in the opposite direction of really your value system and the way you perceive things and your understanding and your desire for connection with nature It's hard to visualize a future in a world that's going in that direction. It's hard to figure out how to manifest any of that. So it becomes very difficult to do things. But I'm going to try. And I hope you do too. It's the 1st of May, 2022. And I hope you find life in your day. Thank you for listening. Just keep treading water. 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 Just keep treading water.